Oh, hello. Today, you join us for episode 4 of our Horus Heresy escalation campaign, The Embers of Istvaan. Now, it's very possible that you have no idea what I'm talking about because this is episode 4 in a series which has been on a hiatus for about 4 months. Coincidentally, I have a about 4-month-old baby girl. So, yeah, we were doing a sort of step by step, adding chunks of 250 points at a time, and doing the relevant hobby and playing. We're going to play up to 2,000 points on Zone Mortalis using the rules that were in White Dwarf. I'm sure I'll give you the issue number in an earlier video. And then once we get to 2,000 points, we're going to start playing on open boards all the way up to 3,000 or 3,500, I think, whatever the maximum is in the book. I think it's 3,500. So we can see our armies grow over time. Yeah. If you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, actually, confusingly, this is episode 4, but it's the 5th episode because episode 1 and 1.5, episode 1 ended up split over 2 videos because I'm very stupid. But go and check out the rest of the playlist if you're interested. So, straight into it now, assuming that you are caught up and know what is going on. So, this is the current iteration of my Empress Children force. The 250 points that I have added. We have added the cacophony, the revelers of the euphoric communion here. So, that's 150 for the 5 cacophony, plus an extra 75, taking us to 225 for 8 cacophony total, plus their artificer armor for the chorister, the sergeant, right? And then I probably added something else back in here, war gear wise, to take it back up to 250. Okay, but that's what I've painted. In the image is 10 cacophones. I only actually used 8, but I painted 10 so that when I want to go back and use 10, who's going to batch paint 8 and then have 2 sat there? So, yeah, 8 cacophony. This is the rest of the list, which is unchanged. Mrs. T.I. So, Mrs. T.I. put in Nomus Raitan. Now, these lines here refer to house rules that we were going to give him. We were going to give him weapon skill 6 and take unwieldy off his hammer. Forge World actually FAQ'd Nomus to have at least weapon skill 5. So we decided in the end not to use these house rules, but they're still on the screenshot. Nomus Raitan is a character from the Legacies of the Age of Darkness PDF. Honestly, he's not very good, and Mrs. Tiao will be better, served with, a Praetor with a Paragon Blade, but she really wants to have, I've got Lord Commander Eidolon roaming around. She really wants a named character. And he did pretty well in the game, to be fair, did old Nomus. He got the killing blow on my Dreadnought. So, he's no slouch. And it's a really cool little conversion. So there's no official model for Nomus Raitan. So my wife's done this little conversion of him there with some little extra pieces, which he looks pretty cool. And he stands out in his black armour, in his sea of green, because he's a chaplain. He's a really cool miniature. And also added from last time was 5 additional, or a few additional pyroclasts, I think, to make up the difference somewhere. But the main addition was Nomus Raitan, because of course initially there was another HQ here. There was a Delegatus. The Delegatus is gone. Raitan was added, and some pyroclasts to make up the difference. Okay, so let's get into turn 1. So, for the first time in our campaign, I was the defender. So, I won the roll off to become the defender. Now, if you've been following the previous videos, you know that this mission that they give you in White Dwarf for the only mission for Zone Mortalis, we both think is quite biased in favour of the defender. So, just to help you work out what's going on here, you've got my Assault Marines with Eidolon, sort of here. You've got my Dreadnought here, and my Terminators are over here. One of the objectives is here under the Terminators. One of the objectives is over here, and the third objective is over here. Over on my wife's side of the table, we've got the these are the shield, the breaches. Okay, these are the breaches here, and these are the pyroclasts. That's the word I'm searching for, with Nomus Raitan in the unit. Now, originally, for this mission, you split your army up and you have half of it in reserves. Originally, Mrs. T.I. had her dreadnought in the in her side start on the board as well. But if you look at the way, and I'll add that Mrs. T.I. laid out the table tiles, not me. There's actually no way for a dreadnought to get out of this little area. So at the very last minute, she just shunted her dreadnought over into the other side. So this is what happened in turn 1. So when it came for reserves, my tactical marines came on down the bottom here and just sort of walked onto the objective here, and my cacophony came on here and just sort of walked on here. Mrs. T.I.'s flamethrower squad that counts as line just kind of came on here. Okay, the breaches started to advance along here in Mrs. T.I.'s turn. She went first. The breaches came along here and they popped a few shots across here, as well you can see the assault marines were originally standing, and she actually managed to kill these front 2 assault marines like this, okay, with just bolter fire, which was kind of annoying. And then it was really hard to work out how I could get around to charge them, because there's a little groove of impassable terrain here. They couldn't really get through this gap, so they would have had to go all the way around through here. So I decided to take the assault marines up here and along this way. The pyroclasts came forwards. One could argue they were baiting the dreadnought. The dreadnought decided to come along, took some shots at them, and then charged in. So there's the dreadnought getting stuck in with the pyroclasts, and that was really what happened in turn 1. Moving into turn 2, so we got the same picture down here as was up here on the last slide. So moving into turn 2, you can see that there's a bit of a Salamander's car park going on here, because the dreadnought has turned up and moved round into here. The tactical squad has turned up and moved round into here. Okay, the flamethrowers have moved a little bit further forwards. Okay, now this combat over the course of turn 2, the dreadnought did die. Nomus Raitan got the killing blow on the dreadnought. The breachers have just kind of moved forward a little bit. They haven't really achieved anything. The tactical marines are just chilling here on their objective, quite happy. The Terminators moved a little bit while still being on the objective, just so they could fire some bolter shots and kill some of these flamethrower men. So there's only, I think, 2 of those alive at this point. And the cacophony came up and shot at the pyroclast as well. Lots of dice rolling on the cacophony, because you've got to roll the dice separately because it gets hot. The cacophony probably did more damage to themselves than they did to their opponents. They're not ultimately a very effective unit, but you know, they're cool. They're proto noise marines, and you can just see the white cloak here of Eidolon. All of his assault marines have died, but for this turn, he's still just getting stuck in with the pyroclasts and Nomus Raitan, who I believe is just there. Moving to turn 3, and you can see what's happened here. That the dreadnought that was here has come right down and got stuck in. Let me just get a pen. The dreadnought's come right down and got stuck into this combat, and he has handily kind of one-shot Eidolon. Okay. Handily one-shot Eidolon. You know, the tactical marines that are up here, these have just moved forwards. They're desperately trying to quest for relevance. The 2 remaining flamethrower troops have come out here. They had a go at attacking the Terminators last turn, and this turn the Terminators have charged. I think they did actually. If we go back to last turn, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they didn't. I thought they'd killed one of the Terminators, but not quite. This turn, I think maybe Mrs. Tiao went first, killed one of the Terminators with the flamethrowers. The remaining 4 Terminators decided to charge the Dreadnought. You can see here there's only 1 Terminator left alive. It didn't go very well. As you can probably just about make out, though, the Dreadnought is on 1 wound, so it was a close-run thing, those Terminators trying to kill that Dreadnought. The Cacophony have come up again. They've been shooting, and you can see that more Cacophony have died. No Salamanders. I don't think actually any Salamanders, until right near the end of the game, shot any Cacophony. They're just busily killing themselves with their Assault 3 gets hot weapons. And then over here, you can see that basically, this is turn 3, and yeah, I've charged off the objective here, and I've charged off the objective here, because I realised that I scored them both at the top of turn 3. I realised that in turn 4 I was going to get charged. I wasn't going to be scoring the objective anyway. So I felt that I would charge out and try and try and deny those extra attacks, right, and that initiative to my opponent. So by turn 3, let's just briefly, because I've not realised I've not mentioned the victory points at all. So turn 1, I scored 1 point for my Terminators on the objective. Turn 2, I scored 2 points. So I have my Terminators on the objective here, and the Tactical Marines on the objective here. So I'm on 3 points now total. Okay, and then turn 3, I'd scored 2 at the start of the turn, and then I'd moved off. So now I'm on 5 points total. Okay. Meanwhile, Mrs. TI has really only scored. No, at this point she scored nothing. No, because there's another objective. The objective is here somewhere. So she had scored 1 of those at 1 point off there, I think, after killing, because my guys were no longer close enough to contest it. So she was on 1 to my 5, or possibly 2 to my 5. Turn 4, anyway, things are suddenly looking really bad for me, despite my massive lead on victory points. So the Dreadnought here just finishes off that Terminator. The last few, what are they called? Cacophony have come forward just because what happened is the flamethrowers had come forward to try and stand on the objective. The Cacophony came forward to stop them, to kill them, to get them off there. This tactical squad didn't do anything. It just kind of, I think Mrs. TI realised she wasn't going to get them anywhere in enough terms to do anything, so she kind of forgot to do anything with them. And down here, this combat's proceeded onwards, so, they're just whittling each other down here, really. I'm down to my Sergeant and my Vexilla, but I have killed quite a few. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 of these breachers left. I've killed their Sergeant. That combat just kept stalemating a lot because I've got the Vexilla there, so that's giving me +1 to my combat resolution each time. So it tended to be I would kill 1 Salamander. The Salamanders would kill 2 Emperor's Children. And then it would be a draw because I would have the flag give me +1 to my advantage. Occasionally, one of us would have to roll at -1 and we'd pass. So that was just grinding on there down there. And then it's turn 5. So the Pyroclasts now just have come forwards from their position here and just taken those last couple of cacophonies, and the down here, this combat just ground on to the end of the game. Nothing ever resolved. In the end, it was a draw because Mrs. TI had basically scored the objective here 3 times. I'd scored 5 altogether on my objectives, but she had scored 1 for Slay the Warlord, and I hadn't slayed my Warlord, and she'd scored 1 for killing more units. So, despite it being a pretty unbalanced mission, she managed to scrape a draw. So I'm still yet to win in the Embers of Istvaan campaign. Don't worry, I'm sure it will come eventually. But that is our game. We had great fun. And then, yeah. So now on to some final thoughts. It really felt a bit bizarre playing. It really felt a bit bizarre playing on the Zone Mortalis sort of tabletop, knowing there's this really cool Into the Dark stuff. I really hope that GW do a Horus Heresy version of the rules for the Into the Dark terrain in White Dwarf or something. And that will be difficult with the dreadnoughts and stuff. Maybe you'll have to take dreadnoughts out of the game, make it purely an infantry game. But I think with that terrain, now we're getting it for 40k in the boarding actions. We're using it in Kill Team. They should make a rule set for it in 30k as well. That would be really cool. The current missions are a little bit meh because we've only got the one mission until we get to that 2,000 point mark and we start playing the proper game. But I'm really enjoying, and it's an itch that I really miss from playing Kill Team. Kill Team's great. It's my favourite game. I play Kill Team every week, sometimes twice a week. I love Kill Team, but I miss the kind of hobby progress that I'm going to add a unit to my army, you're going to add a unit to your army. You know, it takes you back to when you were kids and you were playing Warhammer and you'd play a game and then you'd rush to the Games Workshop and you'd buy another box of figures and you'd have your shiny new models and you'd put them on and then they'd all get wiped out for shiny new model syndrome. Like, I really like that style of thing, so I'm really enjoying this for the kind of socializing and the hobby, and we're not taking it particularly seriously. I mean, I would say that because I'm losing, but we're not taking it particularly seriously. My big question to you is, I've sort of vaguely rambled for about 15-20 minutes. Like, is anybody interested in Kill Team battle reports in this format? I feel like it's so easy to do with squad level games because it's you go, I go. There's very few actual, there's like 5 operatives effectively aside, and it's really easy, broad strokes, to look at the pictures and remember what happened and go, this went over here, this went over there, this went over there, this did that. And you don't get the blow by blow of, oh, I rolled a this, then they rolled a that, then I rolled a this, but nobody actually wants that. With Kill Team, it's a lot more stuff to keep track of, and I kind of stopped doing them because I felt that I wasn't doing the games justice because I couldn't remember the minutiae, because it was a much more, despite being a small number of models, it was a much more complicated game. But if people would want to watch them, do let me know in the comments if you think I should go back to doing Kill Team reports in this format, even though they're much more, oh, I felt this, and I felt it was going this way, and then I did this, and then somehow this guy died, and that level of, if you're okay with that level of vagary, then I'll go back and do the reports, I think, because, not a word of a lie, the news and content drought, it's becoming more and more difficult to do Kill Team, because there's not that much to talk about in the realms of Kill Team at the moment, so we'll see how we go. Speaking of content, don't expect the next episode of Embers of Istvaan for a long while, because I'm still slogging away at the Legionaries Challenge. Like, I set this hobby challenge for people. Oh my gosh, if you're on the Discord, you've seen there's so many people posting so many amazing looking finished kill teams. And I'm here going, well, the black's nearly done on some of the models, and then I've got to paint all the colours. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't help that instead of doing the 6 legionaries that I could have done, I decided to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got 11 models on my painting table at the moment instead of 6. So I kind of work out for me, I suppose. But after that, I really need to get my Into the Dark terrain assembled so that myself and Mrs. TI can have some games of Into the Dark before we go away to Warhammer Fest. And after that, I'll probably get around to painting the next 30k thing for the next episode of Embers of Istvaan. And of course, it doesn't help that obviously the YouTube videos take time. I've got a New Year's resolution to go walking for a mile every day, which I know a mile is not a long way for people who actually live like human beings and take regular exercise. But for someone in my condition, that's quite a big deal. So that's taking time. And then obviously Penny takes a fair bit of time because she's basically 4 months old. So that's, it's all lovely stuff and life's going really well. But it is just meaning that there's quite a few YouTube videos in the pipeline that are kind of waiting for me to finish bits of hobby, and they're kind of waiting. Right, before I ramble for as long as the rest of the video on the final thoughts screen, like I always do, I will start to wrap this up. So if you've enjoyed the video, do give me a like, especially on the I can make a kill team video, especially like that speculation video I did yesterday. I know that will do really well. People really, really love that content. They're not shy about telling me that's great. If you're one of the people that likes the other content, though, it's almost more important that you leave that comment, because I need that reassurance that actually there is an audience out there that wants the stuff, the Horus Heresy stuff, the occasional bit of Magic the Gathering stuff, all 40k related, but all the other bits and pieces that go away from the core mission of the channel, because algorithmically speaking, they don't do particularly well. I don't really care. I try and space them out with core kill team business, but I do like the reassuring comments from people just to let me know that there's an audience, that sort of stuff. Join the Discord. The Discord is taking off now. With there are conversations happening that I'm not in, which I think is the mark of a channel Discord moving from kind of a glorified people wanting to get feedback from me in particular to just a community is starting to form around the thing itself. So that's great. If you're not subscribed, please, if you listen to this long of rambling, just subscribe, please. You're not doing it for you, you're doing it for me. Just bear that in mind. It's not really so you can be reminded to when a video comes out. It's just so that I can get the metric up. That's all it is. And finally, if you really wanted to, you could become a member of the channel. There's a grey button down below somewhere, join channel. If you click that, you'll see a special extra video extolling the virtues of sending me some money every month, which will be, in these trying times, super cool of you. All right, thanks everybody. I hope you have an excellent rest of your evening, and I hope that the Monday morning doesn't hit you too hard. All right, cheery bye.